Welcome to another edition of the Dementia Care Partner Talk Show. Now, here's dementia care expert Teepa and your host, Greg Phelps.
Hello and welcome to the Dementia Care Partners podcast. My name is Greg Phelps, and joining me once again is dementia care expert Teepa. And Teepa, this is going to take sort of a little bit to get into, but I was watching a medical drama on TV.
Greg, when you say that, you know, it's sort of like, okay, let me get my thinking cap on because I got to take in data. Okay, I'm going to prepare myself for taking in data. I know you say that it means, okay, I got to think this through. Okay, go for it.
Okay, so the character was showing some strange behavior, and the crack shot team at this TV drama diagnosed this woman with frontal temporal dementia. Family history showed her father had committed suicide, likely had this condition as well. Concern I had was that they made the diagnosis on genetic markers, then told the family that the patient's sister had a 50% chance of having FTD as well. Now, I realize TV goes for dramatic effect as opposed to total accuracy, but I also understand that not all FTDs are genetically based, and my concern is the message this sends to the public. They were encouraging the sister to get tested without any genetic counseling, of course. So I just sat and watched, and I thought they're really not doing anybody favors with this.
Wow. So evidently I didn't watch the same program you did, Greg, but you know, there's a surprise there. But what I would say is this idea that everybody's so afraid of dementia that if we give them a bite like that, like you can test it and see if you have it. Oh, not you, your sister. We'll test your sister, you know, and it is genetic. And if you don't have it, then you're home free. And it's like, wow, what an interesting sort of take on the whole thing. And the idea that the reason he committed suicide was because he had FTD or it was related somehow. Wow, that's a message. And then to give the sister the information, oh, by the way, you know, like we're going to test you. And if you come out on that side, because what we know is most FTD, as a matter of fact, is not necessarily genetic. Tau pathologies, which is one of the things that classically will kick an FTD into action. It's a cascade event, sort of like Alzheimer's is the well, we aren't sure what it is. We actually are disproving that beta amyloid is the kicker. It tends to be a marker. But what we know about these kind of conditions is that environmental features and periods of lifestyle and exposure to toxins, exposure to viral load, to bacterial load, immune system reactions, so many factors play into this, even things like air quality and sort of exposure to high levels of potential distress, head injuries. I mean, all of those have impact on people's development of brain change. And so to boil it down to this, and in 10, 15 minutes, we diagnose the whole thing with biomarkers, that's been shown historically to be of questionable accuracy over time. Yes, there's a higher probability, but you know, each human being is somewhat unique. So what does it mean for me to have something given my life situation?
So our program today also runs the same risk as the TV program, because maybe somebody's tuning in for the first time today. This is their first exposure to trying to investigate dementia. And here we're talking about something that is so, is it true? Is it false? Is it this? Is it that?
Yeah.
So I can see why people are overwhelmed. You know, people literally pull their hair out and don't know where to turn. So I'm saying, Teepa, how do you start somebody on the road to this? Somebody's they've watched this program, they've heard this, they've heard that. How do you get them on the path?
Tell me a little bit about what kind of things are going on for you that you're concerned about, and what kind of things are going on that seem to be pretty much as per usual and it's going well for you. We tend to want to start with where are you, what's happening for you, and where have you been? Because until we sort of get a baseline on people and what it is they're concerned about, but also what seems to still be working fine, it's hard for us to start to wrap our heads around, so what's the changes and how long have they been going on, and give me a little idea of what you're still finding you can do quite well. And is that accurate? Which is always a question we have to ask, because one of the things we know about many brain changes that end up being related to a dementia is that my self-awareness could be an area of change. So getting that data from a couple of folks in my world could be super helpful to figuring out, okay, disconnect here or strong connection. Everybody's on the same page. All right, now we could be curious about some family history and what kind of life you've led and what kind of things you do for yourself, because it's both an idea of where you've been, but it's also an idea of how you typically live. And once we know that, we know better how to offer support, regardless of what kind of dementia you might be living with, because there's something beyond the medical management. It's called, how am I going to live the rest of my life? What's it going to look like? What kind of support? What kind of housing? What kind of resources? But we got to start somewhere. We got to start with a baby step forward, at least.
So now we've just overwhelmed our listener, our viewer, with all of this. And we're stressing the importance now of baby steps, because this is an elephant and you're not going to eat it at one sitting.
Is this typical aging? Is it not typical aging? Is it typical relationship? Not typical. I mean, those physicians who were really doing their high detail was like, wonder how many people the person had experienced before, wonder what else had happened. Let's just start with a conversation about, tell me what you're concerned about. Let's check it out. And it may not be medical at all.
So if we need this conversation, I know that Teepa's on the road quite frequently. I can't always get a hold of Teepa. So how do I start? How do I eat this elephant?
Yeah, info@teepasnow.com or consult@teepasnow.com will result in a complimentary 30-minute conversation. So it's a starting place, and we'll then figure out what might be a couple resources that you might be interested in, might be helpful, or where else might you want to go to follow up, because there might be something that works pretty well once you get that basic sort of connection going, whether you're the person living with the brain change or you're supporting somebody.
Teepa, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
You've been listening to the Dementia Care Partners podcast, brought to you by Positive Approach to Care. For more information, go to teepasnow.com.